Japanese role-playing games have seen a trend recently to return to their origins, by abandoning some quirky or weird mechanic that makes them unique in a sea of similar titles, to improving on tried-and-true systems from the older generations. Such is the case of Tokyo RPG Factory's newest game, Am Setsuna, who attempts to bring back the feel of the good old days to a more modern game. Released in Japan in 2015 as Ikeniya to Yuki no Setsuna for the PS Vita, and in the West for the PS4 and Steam in 2016, Am Setsuna tells the tale of our titular character Setsuna on the day of her journey to save the world from the monsters plaguing it. She is chosen as the sacrifice and takes pride in the task given to her, to travel to the last lands to sacrifice herself so the world is rid of monsters for another handful of decades. In comes our main character, Ender, the silent protagonist tasked to kill her before she embarks on her journey. Setsuna manages to convince Ender to help her complete the journey, thus also completing his mission of killing her in the end. Ender has no real reason to go ahead with it, as we're not really given any motivation except that it's an assassination contract like any other he's done before, and that makes Ender look like a one-dimensional character at first. Before returning to the village, two mages, Eterna and Raishin, attack Ender and imprison him, rendering him unconscious. Upon waking up, Ender finds himself still trapped, but in a different location, and a horde of monsters attacking outside. Setsuna frees Ender, who intends to keep his end of the contract, and proceeds to help Setsuna and her guardian Eterna in defending the village. Eterna doesn't trust Ender at first, but as the game progresses, she seems to grow more trustful and confident in his abilities. There's a number of other characters that join the three on their journey to the last lands, and the journey itself is full of twists and turns that make it interesting to go through. World traversal is pretty much the same as Chrono Trigger. I'd even go as far as to say as it's the exact same, with the exception of time travel. Villages and dungeons are accessible through a world map in which you can walk around with no random encounters to speak of. Inside those areas, groups of monsters can be found on the map and going near them triggers the battle. While in battle, players can use regular attacks, items, or techs, which can also be used in combos with other characters much like Chrono Trigger. Each set of characters has their own unique combos and have some party-wide combos, called triple techs, much like Chrono Trigger. So, if it is so similar to Chrono Trigger, what makes this so different from its inspiration? For starters, the setting is completely different. Chrono Trigger's battle system is what brought the game into attention by many, adding to it a momentum system, which works by accumulating time by not taking your turn to build up a special meter. Using a special timed with a skill grants additional effects or damage depending on the tech. It is a welcome addition to the tried and true battle system, but I feel it makes battles too easy. After you get used to it, it just feels like you're wiping the floor with every enemy you see. The way you get new techs is also pretty interesting and can get pretty complex once you start going through it. You get materials from fallen enemies, which you can then sell for money and stock them up to acquire new Spirit Knight. You simply get the skill you want when you meet those criteria and no additional gold is spent getting it, freeing your money for much more useful things like weapons, talismans, and item purchases you might need for your journey. Most active command techs are locked to a specific character, but you can also have support and active Spirit Knights that can be used by all characters to enhance resistances or added statuses to your attacks, making each character incredibly customizable. Overall, the combat system and traversal are pretty good, but are pretty standard fare when it comes to JRPGs. The soft and sad piano melodies constant in all of the soundtrack make for a very unique soundscape for a game like this. I've never played a game in which all of the soundtrack was comprised of only piano compositions. I've only noticed one instance of another instrument making an appearance, and that was the boss theme, which adds some subtle drums to the mix. Besides that, the entire piano orchestration on this soundtrack make for a very unique experience when playing. I enjoyed most of it, though it's not my cup of tea for a long play session, as it might get a bit tiring hearing a single instrument for an extended period of time, though your mileage may vary at this point. Am Setsuna is a short but enjoyable RPG. The main campaign lasts you anywhere between 17 to 20 hours, and it's a nice experience, though it brings few new things to the table. Marketed as a retro-style RPG, certainly captured its intended audience, but if you're looking into more quirky mechanics or complex battle systems, you'd best look elsewhere. Though I did enjoy the ending, I felt a lot of the game at the last third suffers from a lack of plot development, and rushes plot exposition through text fed to you while progressing through the final area. Much of this could have been better handled and made more interesting, and didn't leave a good impression on me. Backtracking is also a major issue with the game. While I would not complain about this in any other titles like older Final Fantasy games, Am Setsuna simply suffers more for it because of the lack of variety in its scenery. There's only two distinct types of scenery you're going to encounter throughout the whole game, snow and ruins, and that's it. I kept my expectations high for more variety later on, but when you finally get to an airship, you stand to wonder why the developers simply not played with more variety in scenery. There is a good story to be told in its sorrowful yet charming world, but the lack of variety killed it for me, and upon crossing the 4th or 5th monster-filled area covered in snow, it got tiresome pretty quickly to the point that I just wanted to rush through the rest of the game. With that said, Am Setsuna gets a silver medal. It is a very nostalgia-dependent game, but it fails at capturing most of the charm older games had. It has a lot of faults, but at the same time, it makes some much-needed quality-of-life adjustments to the formula. It just seems like with a bit more time, it could tell a much larger story and have a lot more variety to it. Combat poses little to no challenge if you're up to fiddling with the talisman and spirit knight systems, to the point you can instantly kill mobs and defeat bosses really easily. Tokyo RPG Factory's game isn't bad, far from it, but it will forever live in the shadow of its contemporaries, and although it is a good title, there is much better out there that will make far better use of your time. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this review of Am Setsuna. If you have any opinions of the game and you'd like to share, be sure to voice them in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe for more videos like this every Saturday. This has been Zeldrak, and I'll see you next time.